Important questions of biology for class 10s for entrance preparations. Yes, so yes, Saint Xavier KMC Trinity Persadi. In this institute, this question is asked many times, like the deficiency of vitamin A, B, like this. The deficiency of question number one. The the deficiency of vitamin A causes what? The deficiency of vitamin A causes what? Night blindness. Night blindness. You have to read this answer. Night blindness को कारणले गर्दा the deficiency of vitamin A causes night blindness. This question is asked previous year in entrance. Another questions, what is the deficiency of vitamin B? That is very. The deficiency of vitamin B causes, what causes deficiency of vitamin B? Very. You have to read this. Question number 1 and question number 2. The next term is question number 3. Question number 3. The organs that pump blood, that is called heart. Name the organ that pump blood. Name the organs that pump blood, that is called heart. Question number 4. The deficiency of vitamin. The deficiency of vitamin C causes, that is SCURVY, स्कर्भी. जति पनि खटा चिज हुन्छ सबै स्कर्भीमा. And question number 5. All these question asks the deficiency of vitamin D causes, what causes vitamin D? Ricket. The deficiency of vitamin D causes ricket. The deficiency of vitamin D causes ricket. And question number 6. Question number 6 is that the vitamin important for clotting factor or blood clotting, the vitamins important for blood clotting is vitamin K. You have to read this answer. Blood clotting factor is vitamin K. You have to read this. The vitamins that is important for blood clotting factor, that is vitamin K. Question number 7. Question number 7 is that the organs that filter, कसको काम हो? The organs that filter, FILTERS, filter blood. The organs that filter the blood, that is called kidney, which is bean in shape. The organs that filter blood is called kidney. The organs that filter the blood, which is called kidney. Kidney is the organs that filter the blood. This is most important for entrance preparation question. And question number 8 is that question number 8 is the organs that control body activities. The organs that control the body activities, that is called brain. Brain help us to control body activities. The organs that controls our body activities is called brain. Brain has also three part. Nine number. Now, nine number question is that nine number this nine number the organs that help the organs that helps in breathing, that is breathing. The organs that help in breathing, that is called lungs. The organs that help in breathing is called lungs. 10 number. The organs that detoxify, the organs that detoxified the chemicals, detoxifies chemicals, that is called liver. That is called liver. The organs that detoxify the chemicals, that is called liver. The organs that detoxify the chemicals, that is called liver. Liver is also called heat producing organ. Liver means that heat producing organ. Heat, Producing. Heat producing organ is called liver. The functions of liver means heat producing organ. Liver is the heat producing organs. Liver heat producing organs that detoxify the chemicals, that is called liver. Now turning to the next question, 11 number question. The fluid, the fluid connection, the fluid connective tissue. What do you mean by fluid connective tissue? That is called blood. Blood is a fluid connective tissue. You have to read this. Which one of the following is the fluid connective tissue? That is the blood is the fluid connective tissue. The solid connective tissue. What do you mean by the solid connective tissue? That is called what? The solid connective tissue, that is called bone. Boom. And bone to bone connection means ligament. Bone to bone connection is called ligament. Bone to bone connection is called ligament. Bone to bone connection is called ligament. The solid connection tissue is called bone. The fluid connective tissue is called blood. The solid connection tissue is called bone. And bone to bone connection is called ligament. That trick is called bowel. BABAL bowel. Bone to bone connection is called ligament. Bowel. BABAL. B bone, another bone, and that ligament. Bone to bone connection is called ligament. Question number is 30. 30. Loss of water. What do you mean by loss of water? Loss of water, that is called transpiration. Loss of water means transpiration. 14 number, loss of water is called transpiration. Loss of water is called transpiration. Loss of water is called transpiration. Flexible. Flexible connective tissue. Flexible connective tissue. Flexible connective tissue, that is called cartilage. Flexible connective tissue is called cartilage. Flexible connective tissue is called cartilage. Loss of water is called transpiration. Question number 50 is that covering tissue in plant. Covering tissue in plant. Covering tissue in plant, that is called epidermis. Covering tissue in plant is called epidermis, which is very important. Covering tissue in plant is called epidermis. The tissue that is responsible, the tissue that is responsible for growth in plant. That is growth in plant. That is called meristematic tissue. Meristematic tissue means the tissue which has the ability of the cell division. That is called meristematic tissue. What do you mean by meristematic tissue? The tissue which has ability of cell divisions. First you have to read covering tissue in plant, that is called epidermis. covering tissue in plant, that is called epidermis. The tissue responsible for growth in plant, the tissue which is responsible in growth in plant, that is called meristematic tissue, that is called meristematic tissue. Now turn to the 20 number question, that is very important. The tissue responsible, the tissue that is responsible for transport in plant, the tissue that is responsible for the transport in plant, that is called vascular tissue, that is called vascular tissue. Those tissue which is responsible for transport in plant, that is called vascular tissue. The tissue responsible for, the tissue responsible for transportation of plant, that is called vascular tissue. This is also asked in trans. The tissue, the tissue that carry food, the tissue that carry water, water, the tissue that carry water, that is xylem. The tissue that carry water, that is xylem. But the tissue that carry, the tissue that carry, the tissue that carry food, that is phloem. Xylem and phloem. Carry water, that is xylem. Xylem, the tissue that carry water is called xylem. The tissue that carry food, that is called phloem. The tissue that carry water is called xylem. The tissue that carry food is called phloem. The tissue that carry water, the tissue that carry water is called xylem. The tissue that carries water, that is xylem. The tissue that carry water is called xylem. The tissue that carry food, that is called phloem. And another question, the opening and closing, the opening and closing of stomata, the opening and closing of stomata is controlled by, the opening and closing of stomata is controlled by guard cell. Which cell is closed by opening and closing of stomata is controlled by the guard cells? The opening and closing of stomata is controlled by the guard cell. The opening and closing of stomata is controlled by the guard cell. The opening and closing of stomata is controlled by the guard cell. The opening and closing of the stomata is controlled by the guard cell. The opening and closing of stomata is controlled by the guard cell. The opening and closing of the stomata is controlled by guard cell. The opening and closing of the stomata is controlled by the guard cell. Now we will discuss another question. Basic, another question. Basic unit of hereditary is, what is the basic unit of hereditary? The basic unit of heredity is gene. Gene is the basic unit of heredity. Gene is the basic unit of heredity. Another question. What is the study of heredity? What is the study of heredity? The study of heredity is genetic. Gregor J. Mendel is the father of genetic. The study of heredity is called genetic. Basic unit of heredity is called gene. That is called gene. Now, male gamete is called, male gamete is sperm. Male gamete is sperm.